Okay, we're going to look at finding x-intercepts from factored form. Okay, so we have a question here. This is a trinomial, and this is its standard form. See how there are three terms. And then you went through the process of putting it into factored form. In other words, what you did is you factored it. Okay, so if you can't remember how to do to get there, just kind of go over how to some videos on factoring, right? Yep. But now we're in factor form. This is really important. We want to find x-intercepts, and what that is, we'll show you what that kind of looks like in a makeshift graph, is we have some parabola, and I'm going to tell you that this one technically opens upwards, this parabola, okay, and it probably has x-intercepts like this. So this is what the parabola looks like, and an x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis, okay? And what you're going to find is the way we find this, we need to know what y is when we're on the x-axis. Well, we're on this x-axis here. That's when y is equal to 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace the value of y with the number 0. So we're going to say 0 is equal to
Oh, I get because it's only 1. Going through the x-axis. Oh, but then doesn't touch the y right here.
Yeah, it does, but we're not worried about that right now. And we can find the y-axis after. That's when x would be equal to 0, which would be a lot simpler to do. But let's focus on this. So we know that y is 0 at this point. I want you to think of this like a term and another term. And when we multiply these two terms, we're getting 0. Yeah. The only way this happens, the only number that multiplies to 0 is 0 itself. So we know that one of these must be 0, and we're going to test for two of them. So at this point, what they usually do is they split the equation. It kind of looks like this, and they'll write x minus 1, so I've written what's in that brackets, is equal to 0, and you need to find when 4x plus 1 is equal to 0, okay? These are going to give you the two x-intercepts. So now we do some algebra. I need to isolate for x. So when I bring negative 1 to the other side, it becomes x equals 0 plus 1, and 0 plus 1 is just 1. So x is 1. In the other case, it's a little more complicated. We have positive 1. So we bring positive 1 over, we get 4x is equal to 0. And when positive 1 comes over, it becomes negative. So we have 4x equals negative 1. We're still not done. We have to isolate for x. So to bring 4 over, what do we have to do?
You make it negative 4 take away?
Well, this one's multiplication, so to bring it over, we have to divide, okay? So when we bring over this 4, we're going to have to divide by 4. So x is equal to negative 1 over 4. So it's negative, and this would be 0.25 if you use a calculator, okay? So in other words, what it's saying is this coordinate here is x equals 1, okay? And if the fraction doesn't make sense, this coordinate here is x equals negative 1 over 4 or negative 0.25. Okay, so by going through this process, we found our two x-intercepts. That's what they've told us here. Okay, so once we're in factored form, we set it equal to 0, and we split the two brackets, set them both equal to 0, and solve for x. There's usually going to be 2. There are some instances where there's 1, and then there's others where there's none. But if we're in factored form, we're probably going to be able to find 2.
So none of them equal to 0 then. That'd be x equals 1 and x equals negative 4, right?
That's right.